Okay, good morning guys. Let's run through the next two worksheets then. So first question is working out the area of the circle. You get the formula in the formula sheet, however pi r squared sounds like area to me. So I tend to square the radius first and times it by pi. Now on a non-calculator paper you could actually do the squaring, so that would be 64 pi. However, it is a calculator paper, so let's do 64 pi. Hit your change button. Now in your exam, always make sure you write more decimal places than you need and then do the rounding, just to make sure you don't miss out on any marks by incorrect rounding. Centimeters squared. Circumference is pi d, that is the formula. Again, I tend to take the diameter and then times it by pi, just so it nicely leaves it in terms of pi. But we've got a calculator, probably didn't need a calculator for that. So we've got 31.4159, and then we can round that to 31.4 centimetres. Right, next one is the area of a sector. So we need the angle over 360 times, and then because it's area of the sector, we just need the area of the circle, which is going to be pi r squared. So the radius, which is 6, so 6 squared times by pi. You can actually use your fraction key to do this. So the fraction key 80, here your arrow down, 360, arrow across times 6, use your squared key, pi, and then write down more than you need and then round 25.1 meters squared. For the arc length is exactly the same, but instead of the area of the circle, you're going to use circumference of a circle, so pi d. So 315 over 360. Now the radius is 10, which means that the diameter is 20. So times 20 pi. So let's pop that in. 315, arrow down, 360 times 20 pi. Again, going to write down more than I need, 54.97787. Now that to one decimal place is going to be 55.0 centimetres. There we go. Okay, and onto some index laws. So you're going to multiply these two terms together. So times the numbers in front, so 24, and then you're going to add the powers. So 24 x to the power of 10. Dividing, we're going to divide the numbers, so 4 divided by 2, which is 2, and then take your powers away. So 2y cubed. When you have a bracket and then a power, apply the bracket to the integer and then apply it to this indice here. So you're going to square the 2, which is 4, and then multiply the powers together, so 4m squared. If you've got a fraction, work out the numerator separate to the denominator. So times the top numbers, so 4 times 4, which is 16, and then add your powers. 4 add 2, which is 6. And then 2a to the power of 4. And then 14 divided by 2, which is 7, and then take your powers away, so 7a squared. A negative power means you're going to do the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 5 is 1 over 5, and then the power becomes positive. So that's just going to be 1 over 5. For this one, again, you're going to find the reciprocal of 5, so 1 over 5, and then the power becomes positive. So you square the 1, and then you square the 5, so 1 over 25. Okay, next set of questions. So simplify these algebraic fractions. We're going to factorise and then cancel. So factorising the top, we're going to have two numbers that times together to give 6 and add to give 5. So that's going to be 2 and 3. So they times to give 6, add to give 5. Yep. And then the denominator times to give 10 and add to give 7. Well, that's going to be 2 and 5. Again, if you're not sure, remember to do your little factor table. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. Which ones add to 7? That'll be your 2 and your 5. You know you've gone right when you can cancel those two fractions, those two brackets. So x plus 3 over x plus 5. Watch out for the next one. It's the difference of two squares. Watch out for this square number. When there's no x term, but you have a square number, it's called the difference of two squares. You square root everything, one with a plus, one with a minus. We've already factorised the one at the bottom. It was the numerator of the first one. Two numbers that times together to give 6, add to give 5. That's going to be 2 and 3. Again, you know green right when you get a matching bracket. Now the bottom one, it's a quadratic, so you might think it's a double bracket. However, it doesn't have an indice at the end. When it doesn't have a whole number at the end, it's actually a single bracket. So x on the outside and then x minus 5 on the inside. The bottom one is a double bracket because we have a square number. 25 is a square number, so you're going to have 1 with a plus, square root 25, 1 with a minus, and then cancel those out. So x over x plus 5. Density, mass, volume. You need the formula. Density, mass, volume. You need to know that off by heart. To get density, we're going to circle the other two letters, and that tells us exactly what to do. M over V. So the mass is 125 grams and the volume is 50. I'm just putting them out of here. Hopefully you've read that question to yourself. And then you're just going to do the division. So that's going to get us 2.5. The units will be exactly as you see them. Mass is in grams, volume is in centimetres cubed. And then you're going to write G/centimetres cubed. Next one, you need to work out the mass. So density, mass, volume. We know the density, we know the volume. So we're going to have to times them to get the mass. So 3 times 45. So that's going to be 135. And then again, you're going to need to work out the units. It is mass, so you're looking for the unit in the density, so we're looking for grams for that one. Next one, you want the volume. Density, mass, volume. To get the volume, you're going to do mass over density. So the mass is 90, and then the volume the density is 1.5. So we're going, yeah, that's right. So density 1.5, 90 divided by 1.5, 60, and you're going to want to pull out the units, centimetres cubed. Right, upper lower bounds now. So rounded to one decimal place, so that means you're going to plus and minus 0.5. So 0.05 to one decimal place, because it's a bit like saying it's been rounded to the nearest tenth. So you're going to add and subtract half of that. So add and subtract 0.05, or the easiest thing to do is probably put a 0 after that number, and if you read the number after the decimal, read it as 60, and then add and subtract 5 from that 60. So that's going to get you 6.55 and 6.65. This one has been measured to the nearest 10, so you want to half that. So add and subtract 5 from 50. So 45 and then 55 for the upper and lower bound. Now this one's been rounded to one significant figure, but ask yourself, so does that mean it's been rounded to the nearest 10, 100 or 1000? Well, in this case, it's a number in the hundreds. So it's been rounded to the nearest 100. So you add and subtract half of that. So add and subtract 50. So 550 and then 650. Okay, pause the video and have a go at your other questions, and I'll pop the answers on next. Okay, here are the answers then. So should have got 201.5, sorry, 201.1. Just going to wait for it to come into focus. 37.7, 28.3, 78.5, 24x power 5, 2y squared, 64m15, 6/8 power 4, 1 over 10, and then 1 over 6 squared, so 1 over 36. Cancelling the brackets out, x plus 5 over x plus 1, x minus 5 over x plus 4, x over x plus 3, 8 grams per centimetre cubed, 450 grams, 20 centimetres cubed, and then 4.75, 4.85, 35 and 45, 550 and 650. And then on to version C, should have answered these ones, 78.5, 37.7, 35.5, 41.9, 10x to the power 9, 4y squared, 27, m to the power 15, 4a to the power 8, 1 over 10, 1 over 36, annoyingly they didn't change. X plus 1 over x plus 3, x minus 3 over x plus 4, x over x plus 5, 4 grams per centimetre cubed, 315 grams, 60 centimetres cubed, 3.55, 3.65, 75, 85, 350 to 450. Okay, best of luck guys with the rest of your revision today. Thank you very much, bye bye.